Hello everyone, I'm sure you probably recognize me by now. I am Will, one of the popcasters on Sir Owen Disney's YouTube channel.
He's finally here!
And it's been a while, but I've been busy with school and had to get some finals taken care of, so this is my first video attempt, so we'll see how... You've seen me in some of the other ones, but this is my first, just me talking in front of the camera going, woo! So yeah, that was probably completely pointless and not to mention random. But that's the way it works with me. Anyway, I am supposed to give my opinion on things that I want to talk about, and one of the things that I actually do want to talk about is something that I discovered last weekend. I got off work, I believe it was Friday night, and I went to Walmart, because sometimes I do that after work, depending on if the mood strikes me or not, and to check on prices for things that I may want in the future. I do have a birthday in 3 months, so, I gotta get some ideas for, people like Sir Owen to, give me gifts.
Someone still owes me $153 for wrestling tickets.
I don't know who he's talking about. That is a mysterious person. It might be Mr. Flashback that owes him,
He'd give me his
money, but, but anyway, so I was walking around Walmart, and I went to the video section, as I usually do, because that and, a couple of other places in Walmart are the only sections I bothered to go into. And I was looking around, and all of a sudden I stumbled across something. And I literally was in shock. I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe I found this here. I found Rocko's Modern Life, the complete series on DVD.
Very
52
nice.
episodes, 4 discs, for $24.96, and I was like...
God, that's a great deal.
And I was like, oh my god, I have not seen this show in probably 10, almost 15 years. I still remember certain episodes, but I haven't seen the actual show in 10 or 15 years. And I was like a little kid in a candy store. I was like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing.
Indeed.
So, I didn't buy it that first night, but I went back the next night because Mother's Day was Sunday, and I wanted to get my mom some flowers, so I bought the flowers, and I bought Rocko's Modern Life. And...
priorities.
I'm still in the process of watching it. I'm on season 4, the second disc right now, and I've kind of been going through and watching them, and to see if the show is still as good as I remember it to be, and I can safely say that yes, the show is still as good as I remember it to be. The jokes, the writing... Rocko, Heifer, Filbert, Mr. Big Head, Mrs. Big Head, and, it's amazing to think that this cartoon came out in 1993 and lasted till 1996, and it was one of the most groundbreaking cartoons that's become a cult classic, a cult favorite, and it's one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows of all time, and, it's right up there with Rugrats, Doug, Our Real Monsters, all those, classic older Nickelodeon shows, Ren and Stimpy, I'll even throw in there, even though Ren and Stimpy was probably the grossest show on television at that particular juncture. Angry Beavers, Cat Dog, all those great, shows. And let's not forget SpongeBob SquarePants.
That's when Nickelodeon lost me, though. It's pretty much after Doug and Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, and Rocko's Modern Life. Rocko's Modern Life, to me, might have been the last great Nickelodeon show before SpongeBob.
Well, I will agree with that, and what a lot of people don't know is that SpongeBob himself, Tom Kenny, actually voices Heifer in SpongeBob, and I didn't know that until the first thing I did when I got the DVD after I unwrapped it was I watched the special features, because that's what I always do, because that's just me.
That's the reason to get a DVD, is for special features.
And they had a live read for an audience of my favorite episode of Rocko's Modern Life, Wacky Deli. Who doesn't remember the Wacky Deli episode? I mean, come on. It is a classic.
Indeed.
I love that episode, so it still makes me laugh to this day. I love it. I love it so much. But anyway, they were all sitting there and they were all reading, and they introduced all the voice actors and gave all of their, credentials, shows they've been on. And, they mentioned Tom Kenny, who, obviously plays SpongeBob. But also, Mr. Lawrence was the voice of Filbert, and he also voices Plankton in SpongeBob.
Interesting.
And so I did not know that. So they were doing the read-through you know, part of the episode, this was like a 50-minute, you know, thing, but they read probably for a good 20 or 30 minutes. So they only read the first part of the show because it was a 2-part episode. And it was great to see them doing this again, and the audience was loving it. And, you know, to hear Heifer and Filbert arguing again, you know, about, you know, who's the better character, you know, the cheese or the salami. And that was fun. And Rocko, you know, being Betty Baloney. Oh, boy, what a beautiful day! And then, you know, Heifer being like, I hate bologna! And then Filbert, you know, popping up with the cheese. I am the cheese! I am the best character on the show! I am better than both the salami and the bologna combined! You know, that was fun. And, you know, and here's a fun fact. I didn't know this, but the voice actor for Mr. and Mrs. Bighead is actually voiced by the same person. He did both voices. And he also did the voices for both of the Fatheads, which is sort of based off of Mr. and Mrs. Bighead. And Ralph Bighead was voiced by Joe Murray, the creator of Rocko's Modern Life.
Very nice.
So that was very interesting. But still, you know, it's one of my all-time favorite episodes. I love the Wacky Deli episode. It's just so funny, and it's so it's just great. And but I was going through the DVD, going through all the episodes, and I really was amazed at how much I remembered, you know, because if it was an episode I hadn't seen in years, I would be like, oh my god, I do remember that, even though I hadn't seen it in a good 10 to 15 years. And one of the ones that my good friend and I, Ben, the Hammer Sams, that's his wrestling name, that I came up with, that I gave him, that he loves. So, one of the episodes that Ben and I like to reference all the time, actually there are two, but one of them is the episode where Rocko and Heifer go to see a movie. And they wanted to go see a drive-in movie, but they have to go to a cinema, which mirrors the employment that Sir Owen and I currently are employed in.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things about this episode is that all the ushers there are wearing the same shirt that Rocko's wearing, the blue shirt with the triangles. And Rocko at one point goes up to the usher and says, excuse me, where's theater number 42? And the usher says to him, well, you should know, man, you work here. And he's like, I don't work here. And the guy says, yeah, me neither, unless the boss is watching. And so sometimes, you know, if we have some, I'm not going to name names, but if we have some annoying, you know, 13, 14-year-olds that come in to Regal and say, you know, where's this movie? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, you work here. I'm like, I don't work here. So, you know, I kind of do, and I really don't care if I get in trouble for saying that. What are they going to do? I'm the face of the franchise. So, you know.
I'd watch what you say about that, especially here.
Well, I don't think anyone from Regal is really going to see this.
You never know. And I will say right now that we've been discussing something. Well, first off, number one, I'm going to call you out on this. You mentioned Ben the Hammer Sams.
Yes.
You also referred to as our fellow popcaster, our resident music critic, Ben Sams.
Yes, he is a fellow popcaster, but before he was a popcaster, he was my tag team partner,
Indeed.
Benjamin the Hammer Sams.
Yes.
And
that had to be dropped there.
The other thing about that episode is that there's a really hilarious, and of course, you know, hopefully I'll be able to do a top 10 of these sometime with Ben and Sir Owen and, you know, AJ, and we can all, you know, give our top 10 favorite episodes, so I'll try not to give too much away. But the other part of that episode that I love is where there's this woman that's, I think she's like a boar. She's not a pig. She's a boar.
Okay.
But there's apparently a guy in the movie theater smoking a cigar, which is just very strange that would happen. But anyway, she mistakes Rocko for an usher, and she's like, usher? And he's like, oh no, ma'am, I'm not. And she says to him, that man over there is smoking a cigar. I pay good money for my movie, and I will not have some cigar smoker ruining my viewing experience. I want you to throw him out. And he's like, but I'm not. Now, come on. So she drags him over, and she's like, you're in trouble now, bub. I got an usher. And this guy is probably like, he's like, got to be 300 pounds, okay? And he looks at Rocko, and Rocko is looking at him, and he's like, sir, the lady has requested that you please refrain from... And the guy stands up, and he's like, from what? And she's like, pummel him! Smack him with your flashlight! And he's like, I I don't have a flashlight. And she reaches off screen and she hands him a flashlight and she's like, here, smack him! And so he goes, and so Rocko gets tossed out of the theater and hits the wall, and then all of a sudden, the guy flies out and hits the wall and crushes poor Rocko, and you see the woman going, and I'm like, if you could have done that, why did you need to go get Rocko and ask for help? You could have thrown him out yourself. Why? Why would we have to put Rocko through that torment? But anyway, that's another great episode, and then the other episode is an episode called Gutter Balls, which, you know, Ben and I, we love to quote that one relentlessly, and it's where Ed Bighead was at one point a member of a bowling team when he was young and he still had hair. Yeah, he actually had hair at one point. And he was in a bowling tournament, and he was on the verge of winning, and he needed one pin to win, and he rolled a, and he kicked the ball into the gutter, and then he completely messed up the second try, and I believe the whole bowling alley collapsed. So he was having really bad memories. So he's been coaching a women's bowling league with his wife Bev, the same woman that was in the movie theater episode, I think, and also Heifer's mom, Virginia Woolf. And poor Virginia Woolf, I swear, she tries so hard sometimes. She really does. She's not a bad person. She's not a bad mother. She can't fucking bowl. She can't. So, Ed's team, the Gutter Girls, needed an opponent. So, Ed Bighead invites Rocko, Filbert, and Heifer to, you know, bowl against them, to compete against them. And their team name is the Losers. How apropos. Because, obviously, Ed he wanted to win the trophy. So, anyway, it's pretty evenly matched, actually, because, you know, Rocko, Heifer, and Filbert are actually very good bowlers. Except for Heifer, who, you know, bowls a strike in the wrong lane to start off with. But, you know, that does happen. But Filbert and Rocko are, you know, actually very good. And Rocco's even got a ball that, you know, matches the color of his shirt. It's blue and it's got triangle stripes on it. Or it's got triangles on it. So it's got, you know, the ball itself is blue, but it's got the purple triangles on it, which is really cool. You know, Ed is looking at the score and he's worried that, oh my god, they're going to beat us, they're going to beat us. So he tries to sabotage Rocko and his buddies, but every time he does, something ends up happening in their favor. Like, you know, he replaces Rocco's ball with a balloon at one point, and Rocko still manages to get a strike. He ends up, you know, actually in the ball machine and turns into a bowling ball himself. You know, everything he does works in their favor. But eventually, at one point, he's, you know, yelling at them, you know, we gotta win this, and he's like, who's up next? Virginia? Oh no. And so Virginia Woolf steps up, bends her knees, rolls the ball, and she hits one pin, and he's like, what was that? You bowl like a wimp! And she's like, well, Ed, no excuses! And then Heifer, you know, defending his mom, says, hey, Mr. Bighead, that's my mother you're yelling at, and I don't like it! Ah, who asked you, Tubby? And she says, don't you insult my boy, you big galoot! You tell him, Mom. Thank you, Heifer. And she's like, I'm taking my ball and going home. You won't have Virginia Woolf to kick around anymore. And he's like, fine, we can win this trophy without you, girls. Right, girls? And so Bev and the other friend, who we don't know what her name is, her name is never revealed throughout the course of the episode, they're like, oh, get a life, Ed. You've taken all the joy out of the game. And he's like, this is mutiny! If you want the trophy so bad, bozo, finish the game yourself. So Ed's like, okay, fine, that's exactly what I'll do. So he goes up to the manager and says, there's been a change in the team lineup. I will be bowling the last frame for the Gutter Girls. And he's like, sorry, Ed, no substitutions. And so Ed's like, wait right here. So he leaves and he comes back. He's dressed in drag. He's got lipstick on, a mop for a wig, and he's like, hi, it's me, Bev. I'm back and I'm ready to bowl. And the manager's like, or the owner says, I thought you were a redhead. And he's like, so I got my hair done! Do you like it? And it's that part, you know, that cracks me up. And so he gets the manager / owner gets on the microphone and he said, "All Bev needs is one pin. One pin." And so during the course of this episode, we see flashbacks to, where Ed, missed the one pin, and when he was much younger, bowling for this same trophy. And we even see that at one point earlier in the episode, where the voice of the owner is replaced with the voice of Bev because, Mr. Big Head is daydreaming. And all of a sudden you hear, "Ed, Ed, Ed," and then you hear Bev going, "Ed, Ed, Ed." And so Mr. Big Head, finally, summons his iron will and resolve, and he says, "That's it. I'm through being afraid of the past. I'm putting my fingers in those holes, and that is final." And yeah, I know that sounds really kind of disgusting, but you got to remember this was not exactly, even though this was a cartoon, even though this was made to be a kid's show, Rocko's Modern Life was really ahead of its time with its humor. It was more very much adult humor. Think of kind of Adult Swim kind of humor. And I'm pretty sure that my colleague, Sir Owen, concurs with that. It was very much Adult Swim kind of humor. It was not humor you would find on a typical kid's show like today.
No, not really.
But it was genius. It really was. So when he says, "I'm putting my fingers in those holes," you probably go, "He said fingers in holes."
Because we're all just children at heart, actually.
But anyway, so he picks up the ball, he rolls a strike, and he's celebrating, and he gets handed the trophy, and his wig falls off, and the manager is like, "I'll take that trophy if you don't mind, Bev. Due to an illegal substitution, this year's trophy goes to the losers." And so Rocko says to Mr. Big Head, he's like, "Mr. Big Head, we had a really good time. Thanks for inviting us, and I know this trophy means more to you than it does to me, so I'll put it in my back window so you can look at it every day." And it was like, oh, snap. Like, Mr. Big Head's, ruse came back to bite him. And I haven't had time to go through all the episodes and really watch them thoroughly. I'm pretty sure I will do that later this evening when I get home. I was busy yesterday, and I went to the zoo in Cincinnati, which was a 3-hour drive, and a friend of mine drove back because I wasn't falling asleep at the wheel, but I was getting tired, so I had them drive.
A danger to others on the road.
Yeah, I was not being a danger to others. I just, I was kind of drifting a little bit, and I didn't mean to be drifting. And I was tired, and I needed a break because I'd done the bulk of the driving. So, but the zoo was fun. It was a blast. Matter of fact, actually, just to segue here for a moment, my friends and I, we all wore superhero shirts. So I had a Batman shirt. My friend Shy and Ari, I hope they don't mind me mentioning them on this channel, they had Wonder Woman shirts. Our friend Brian had a Superman shirt. And Darby, who Sir Owen met at WrestleMania, he had a Loch Ness Monster shirt on, but it was green, so technically we were going to say it was a Green Lantern shirt, even though it really wasn't. But there were these kids that, this one little boy saw my shirt, and he's like, "It's Batman! It's Batman!" And that really, in addition to just going to the zoo, that really made my day. And another woman with her young son said, "Look, honey, superheroes." So it was really, and then as we were leaving, the guy that was giving out some, some souvenirs said, "We have the superhero family here today," and my comment was the Justice League taking a rare day off. So that was really cool that we got noticed in that fashion, and I'm kind of surprised no one asked for autographs, but I digress.
A lot of great superheroes and some guy who just really loves Busch Gardens that much.
But anyway, good point.
Exactly.
But anyway. I was really excited to finally get the Rocko's Modern Life complete series, and I checked FYE. FYE only had the first 2 seasons, and I was like, well, fuck this, I'll just go to Walmart and
buy. They're too expensive anyway.
Yeah, I was just like, fuck this, I'll just go to FYE and buy, or I'll go to Walmart and buy the complete series. So, and they still had some copies left, so if you don't have one, I would encourage you to go out and get it because it's a piece of Nickelodeon history. It's a piece of my childhood because I used to watch that show every day, all the time when it would come on at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And any time Stickly would do his, his shtick that he would do, I can't remember what it was called exactly, the You Pick Nicktoons thing. Yep. There we go. I would always pray that it was a Rocko episode because it seemed like all of the episodes that they showed on that segment was anything but Rocko's Modern Life. Rocko's Modern Life being shown was kind of it was almost kind of like taboo. So, you know, but I'm glad that Nickelodeon's released it. It's been a long time coming, and it's a shame there was only 4 seasons, because the show could have gone for, you know, a 5th season or a 6th season and probably reached 100 episodes. So it was a shame that it was canceled. But, you know, it definitely deserves a look. It definitely is. It has all the great humor. You remember all the great characters. You know, all the, you know, funny things like, you know, Filbert saying, "Turn the page, wash your hands. Turn the page, wash your hands. Turn the page, wash your hands." That's a masturbation joke for all for those of you that did not know that. That's actually a masturbation joke. And if you think about it hard enough, you'll see that it makes perfect sense. Yep, Stickley's on the 90s or all that, as Sir Owen just reminded me. So, you know, that was... but they didn't show a lot of episodes of he used to, you know, drop the... where you could, you know, write him or, you know, tell him what episodes you wanted to see. But, you know, it's just... like I said, it just seems like Rocko wasn't really shown a whole lot when they were doing that, which I think is a shame, because the show was so... it was so groundbreaking. It was so ahead of its time. Kind of like how SpongeBob, when it started, was ahead of its time, and it still is, technically, because it, you know, it now holds the distinction as being the longest tenured Nickelodeon show on Nickelodeon. It was Rugrats. Rugrats had a 10-year run. SpongeBob's been on for, I believe, 13, 14 years now, so it will probably be on when my kids are growing up, and if not, I will have the complete series on DVD, so it really won't matter. And I'll be able to... I've got Season 1. I haven't had time to peruse that yet, but eventually I'm going to do that, and there hopefully will be a top 10 episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants in the future, or maybe top 15, top 20, who knows?
Something tells me if there's going to be a SpongeBob top anything done on this channel, it's not just going to involve you.
I think you might be right. But anyway,
a lot of podcasters that love themselves some SpongeBob.
There are. But, you know, it's great to own this. It's a piece of, like I said, a piece of Nickelodeon history, a piece of, and, you know, it's great to be able to relive this show, because there were so many great episodes. Like, you know, I completely forgotten about the Wedgie Boy episode, where Rocko's the underwear model. That was great, especially... Heifer's answering machine when Rocko calls later after he missed Monster Movie Night. "This is Heifer. Leave a message at the sound of the beep, unless you're a wedgie boy who's too busy and famous to bother with his friends." And Heifer's laying in the bed and he's like... he just has that blank stare on his face the whole time. And then the next day, he's watching TV and you see Rocko say, "Don't hate me because I wear wedgie boy." And Heifer's like, "Too late!" And he clicks off the TV.
That's great.
And then the episode where Heifer leaves and he moves out of home, he moves away from home, and he's living inside the Chewy Chicken, which was the Choky Chicken restaurant, and you know the thing is spinning around, and that's where his house is, and he's working there, and he you know answers the phone. He's like, "Hello? Oh, hi, Mom. Oh, Mom, I'm fine. Stop worrying. Yeah, Mom, really, I'm fine. Stop crying." And so, as the episode is coming to its climax, he's carrying this phone around, and it's like off the hook. He's not talking to anybody, and he ends up in front of his house, and he's like, "No, really, Mom, I'm fine. You know, I'm living on my own." And they all take him, his parents and his brothers and sisters all take him back inside and put him in front of the TV, and Heifer's got, you know, one bloodshot eye, and the other eye is just kind of like that, and, you know, it's classic stuff. And then the episode, the other one that I had completely forgotten about that I loved is the episode where Rocko's trying to make a home movie for his parents about, you know, his life, and then the Chameleon Brothers. Sir Owen, do you remember the Chameleon Brothers?
Absolutely.
Leon, and I don't remember if they ever gave the name of the other one. They might have, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. And Sir Owen is diligently going to, you know, research this for me so that I can remember. But Heifer and Filbert got this idea to enter Chuck and Leon. That was it. Chuck and Leon. The Chameleon if y'all remember, they started the Chameleon Brothers Cafe. And anyway, Filbert and Heifer got this idea to submit the video to the Chameleon Brothers, and they sold it to other retail stores, and they mispronounced Rocko's name as Rococo. They were like, "But Rococo, we only have 900 copies in the store. The rest have been sold to other video distributors to every hip store in town." And, but anyway, so Rocko, there was one particular scene in that episode where Filbert and Heifer are outside Rocko's house at night, and Rocko apparently likes to walk down his steps naked for a glass of milk. So Filbert and Heifer are outside Rocko's house filming this, and Heifer's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to see our buddy Rocko descend down the steps as he does every night for a glass of milk." And then Filbert's like, "And he ain't dressed for the occasion, if you know what I mean." And then Heifer's like, "Yep, he's completely naked, with no clothes on. Naked, naked." And so they're shooting Rocko, and Rocko's, walking down the steps, he's whistling, and he opens up the fridge, and he's drinking the milk, and all of a sudden he turns towards the direction of Heifer and Filbert, and they're like, "He saw us! I think he saw us!" And they're running away, and you see the camera, focusing on their feet, and Filbert's going, "Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy," as they're running away. And then finally, Rocko goes to the Chameleon Brothers, cafe, and he reads this sign that says, "Please go downstairs for service." And so he's walking down the steps, and at the same time, they're showing the footage of Rocko walking down his steps to his kitchen naked, and Rocko's like, "What the blazes is going on here? That's my nakedness!" And he freaks out, and so eventually they have to erase all the tapes, and they don't know if there's 10 or 11, and Rocko's like, "Heifer, is it 10 or 11? 10. I sent one off to the Australian Film Festival." And Rocko's like, "You did what?" And the film festival happened to be where his parents were going to be attending. So Rocko's parents have seen this. And this will probably be on one of my top 10 episodes, so I'm sorry if I spoiled it for you ahead of time. But I didn't spoil the whole thing, because there's more that I haven't mentioned. But anyway, the mailman comes and delivers Rocko's mail, and Rocko, has put himself in the mailbox, so, and the mailman, for some reason, when he opens up Rocko's mouth, pulls out a pair of underwear. I don't know why, but he just does. And it was funny. But anyway, and so Heifer checks his mail, and it's like, "Oh, you got mail." And he's like, "One's from your folks." And he's like, "My parents, give me that!" And he tears open the letter, and inside he finds these censor bars and a check for $10 American. Why you would only send someone $10 doesn't make much sense, but whatever. And Rocko reads the letter, and he's, "Dear son, your mother and I just got back from the film festival. My, weren't we surprised. Would you please autograph these censor bars for our friends and relatives? Plus, here's $10 American for a robe. We love you very much, Boo-Boo." And Heifer and Filbert are like, "Boo-Boo, Boo-Boo," and they're sticking the censor bars on themselves, and he's like, "Love Mom and Dad, I don't believe it." And they open up the other letter, and it's from the Australian Film Festival Committee, and Filbert's like, "Congratulations, mate, on your..." We won! So their film wins in the film festival, but then they have to go back inside, and they have to erase the tapes, and Heifer's like, "Do we have to erase all of them?" "Yes, absolutely, every last one. Filbert, one. And then all of a sudden they have a tape that's not theirs. And Filbert's like, "Oh my gosh, this one isn't yours." And he holds up the tape, and it says "Toads in Love." Puts the tape in, and they're all like, Toads in Love. That's the Big Heads." And it shows Mr. and Mrs. Big Head, throwing plates in the air, hitting them with their tongues. Filbert and Heifer are still wearing the censor bars. All the censor bars fall off, because they can't believe what they're seeing. How that tape got in there, I will never know. But it's another classic episode. But I mean, it was such a great show. The writing was great. The jokes were always hilarious, And it's a shame, like I said, it only lasted 4 seasons because it could have gone for 5 or 6. And I just think Nickelodeon canceled it because they were afraid that it was, you know, getting, that with the adult humor, that it was a little too much. But what a lot of people don't know is that the same people that did Rocko also did SpongeBob, and there's a lot of adult humor in SpongeBob. I mean, look at Mermaid Man. He wears a bra. I mean, you know, let's not forget the episode with the seashell where, you know, SpongeBob and Patrick, you know, play, you know, parents, and SpongeBob is clearly the mother in the relationship, and because Heifer even says, "Just call me Daddy." So, you know, I'm surprised. What I don't understand is if Rocko had the same adult humor that SpongeBob has had, how SpongeBob has survived the 14 years it's been on, which, I mean, obviously the show is very popular, so that helps, and, you know, I love SpongeBob. I'm a big SpongeBob fan. Always have been, always will be. But it's just a shame that Rocko didn't get a chance to last as long as SpongeBob has, but I don't think it could have because they might have run out of creative ideas, but we still got 4 years out of it, and that was great, and it's a show that I miss to this day, and I'm going to tell you this, Nickelodeon, you bastards, okay? April 1st, on Facebook, you guys put a Facebook post out that said there was going to be a never-before-seen episode of Rocko's Modern Life, and I was stoked. I was excited. I was so happy. And I remember I was doing some work for my Shakespeare class, and I took my work downstairs, and I turned it on to, I believe the channel, yes, I believe the channel was, I believe on my Suddenlink box, it was, it was like 100, it was, you know, past channel 100, I can't remember exactly what but it was Nicktoons TV. And it was good, and it was supposed to be this never-before-seen episode. And what did you guys do? You held on the wacky deli jar of mayonnaise for 30 fucking minutes. And you had a hashtag that said 90s mayo, and your responses was, in my big booming announcer voice from the show, "What the mayo is going on here?" And I was so pissed off, but yet overjoyed at the same time. And then after the show was over, I got on Facebook and they said, what did you guys say? Well, we couldn't really find a never-before-seen lost episode. And my response to that is, well played, Nickelodeon. Well played. You got me. You got all of us. You really did. And in case anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, in the Wacky Deli episode, Ralph Bighead had this idea to hold on a jar of mayonnaise for 10 minutes, hoping it would lead to the cancellation of the show, but of course everybody loved it. So it was kind of annoying, but it was actually kind of awesome at the same time, so that gets 2 thumbs up for me because since it was Rocko and it was a part of history and it was one of my favorite episodes in the show, then, you know, you get props from that for me. So, you know, great job to you, but, you know, still, you bastards. Ugh! Anyway, fuck you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I do love you, but still. For that, you know, I have to... Well done. Well done. Well done. But anyway, if you guys haven't gone out and bought it, I encourage you to. It's exactly like you remember it. And plus, the special feature with the live read-through of Wacky Deli, that is, as they say in the movie business, worth the price of admission. That's worth the price of the DVD. It's great, and the episodes are exactly like you remember them, and it is... I wish that Rocko was still on. I'm sure that Nickelodeon still does do reruns from time to time, but it's so great to be able to own the whole series on DVD. So that's really all that I wanted to talk about, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about this nostalgic piece of Nickelodeon history. Like I said, there probably will be a top 10 video at some point, or, you know, maybe more. I'm not really sure yet, but if you guys have any questions for me about any of my other favorite Rocko episodes, my Twitter is @WPadden, or you can find me on Facebook. Just look for, you know, the nerdy guy with glasses. You know, that would be me. Who will not be wearing a Ms. T-shirt. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me reminisce about Rocko's Modern Life, It's still one of the best Nickelodeon shows of all time. It's still one of my favorite shows of all time, and hopefully it was one of yours. And as my good friend Buddy Gecko would say, in the smelly swamp when they dine on slugs with pond scum for dessert, come crawl with me, yeah, let's crawl away. Come crawl with me, yeah, let's crawl away. Let's crawl away, yeah! Until next time, this is Will signing off, and like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer them. See you guys.